Well, this is a little weird. This video is actually not a video at all. It's a podcast that I got to record with my friend Marvin Sandoval. We met on Zach Kravitz's cinematography course a couple months back. He reached out to me and wanted to do a podcast, which I thought was really cool. So thank you, Marvin, for doing that. And this is a little long. It's about an hour or so. So if you have a commute or you have a bunch of stuff you have to do throughout your house, you got somewhere to cruise for a while, or if you just want to listen to it, I would genuinely appreciate it. I thought it'd be cool to throw up on the channel. Something a little bit different. And I have said a lot of things on this podcast that I haven't even said on the channel yet. So I think it'll be pretty interesting. Now I'm going to keep this intro short and sweet because I did say a lot on this podcast already. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And next week we will have a new vlog up. So if you stuck around and got to listen to the whole thing, I really hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Marvin, so much again for having me on. It was a lot of fun. I'll have his stuff linked down in the description below. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and I'll see you next week.
What's going on, everyone? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of Cinemania. I'm your host, Marvin Sandoval. I'm really excited about this episode because we're bringing it back. We're bringing back the interviews where we have guests on the show, whether they're videographers, photographers, entrepreneurs, or just people who like to talk about mental health or just personal growth. Today we have Christian Carranza from California. Really excited to have him on the show. He is a young entrepreneur like myself who works a full day job while balancing, being a video creator for himself, for clients, and just talking about, the trials and tribulations that come with that, with balancing a full-time job and then something that you want to create and make, your living around. Christian and I met via Zach Kravitz. Zach Kravitz hosted a cinematography course that he and I both took part in. He and I found that there was just so much value in his course. There was so much to learn, so much to gain. And I got to talk to him a little bit about what he gained from that, what his thoughts were about professional development. Personally, I myself, when I was thinking about taking the course, I was in this situation where, I knew I was a good videographer. I had more to learn, but I didn't know if I wanted to pay for a course necessarily. And we both talked about it on this episode, the importance of professional development as a creative and just how much it can just teach you and just show you that you can do so much more and just by learning from someone new. And we talk about more things about, taking that leap of faith, believing in yourself, and starting anew, leaving that comfort of a full-time job that has benefits, salary, and doing something that your heart is invested into, something that you consider your calling. So make sure to go check out Christian's work. His Instagram handle is christian.carranza. That's CARRANZA.754. I'll say it again, christian.carranza.754 on Instagram. So enjoy the interview, guys. See you guys next week.
Done with your negativity. I'm done with your negativity. Yeah, bitch, I'm done with your negativity.
Yeah, man. How's everything going?
I'm done with
Going really good right now, actually. What about you?
Doing pretty well. It's been a crazy week, just like with, I also work a 9 to 5, so like balancing that, balancing clients, trying to balance a life, all that good stuff.
Oh, so you know exactly like what it is to, do the 9 to 5, trying to do this thing too. Oh, I'm glad. I honestly didn't even know that you worked a 9 to 5 also doing that. So that makes it really, really cool and, easily relatable.
Oh, dude, like my time is it has to be very disciplined in a sense. Like if I'm outside of work, I have to dedicate time to my clients or creating, or I'm trying to like watch television or maybe play a video game if I have time. So it's just like gnarly in the sense of like just being able to balance everything, making sure things work, and making sure that everything's done appropriately.
Yeah, I hear you, man. You gotta be super disciplined with it. I totally understand. Like last night, I was driving home. Well, my boss gave me a drive. My boss gave me a drive. Damn, I can't speak. I swear, just like when I'm on camera. He was giving me a ride back from work because my car was having some problems. And, I came back and, my normal thing is, work the 9 to 5. And then I come home and for the rest of the night, usually I just edit. And, the only time I really get to watch a show or a YouTube video or whatever is when I eat. So I was eating dinner and I'm watching that new show that I'm pretty sure you've heard about. A Haunting or The Haunting of Hill House,
Oh,
right?
it's incredible. Incredible.
Right? Right? And I was just telling my girlfriend, and like, I was like, damn, I could just sit here and just binge watch the hell out of this. But, you know, you got to be disciplined in that sense. Because once you get back into your zone, you're editing, you totally forget about it because your mind is just occupied with like doing the project and you're so consumed on the vision you have and stuff. But yeah.
It's easy to get lost in, I think I call it like the editing zone, where you'll start like at 7 o'clock at night. You just edit, you're kind of just digging it, you're going through the footage, you're organizing, you're skimming through, you're like, what am I going to tell here? You look at the clock and it's like 11:30 at night and you're like, holy shit, like I have to be up at work. I have to be there at 8:30, so I have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning. Like, I need to get to rest like now. Good thing I even checked the time, because it's so easy to get trapped in that zone.
Oh yeah, I hear you 100%. The same exact way for me. Usually Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I mean, that's like when I could get the majority of the editing done. But like for example, like Friday nights, that's usually when I work 9 to 5, and then I come home, eat dinner, and all that, and then I edit, and the next thing I know, it's like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, oh damn, good thing it's Friday and I don't have to work Saturday and Sunday, so that way I could, you know, edit a little bit and rest easy. Because last night I had a bang too, so I was just on one. I could have kept going till like 5 in the morning, but I'm just like, it's probably a good idea to go to bed now.
Yeah, sleeping is, a pretty fundamental part of existing. And especially with editing,
Yeah.
it's so easy to just want to stay up. I remember it's funny because I was like just looking back and thinking about, 3 years ago, very similar to you. When I first started editing, it was like this thing that it was the only thing I thought about. Like during the day, I was like, okay, I'm going to film this and I'm going to edit this way. And you just have this idea that comes out in the middle of the night. And I remember there were a couple of mornings where I'd wake up at 3 in the morning before work and like just edit all morning, like break of dawn before work. I'm just going to bang out these edits. And it's just one of those things where if that's something that's fueling you inside, that it could be your calling. And that's something that I've been like kind of understanding more what a calling is.
Yeah, I hear you 100%, man. You just got to have that balance. And it's like a lot of the, people ask, 'cause I'm sure too, of like when people like find out that you work a 9 to 5, or even people at work, and like, damn, where do you find the time to do this? And you're like, I don't know, I just do it. Like if it wasn't if it was up to me, 100%, I could do this for like, 12 hours, like straight. I would just go. I have to like force myself to take breaks and go for a walk and, go do something else and then come back to the editing later, because it's so easy. Like you said, just you get consumed in it. Next thing you know, your back hurts. You haven't eaten anything. You had like 200 steps in and it's like 5 o'clock at night and you're like, I should probably give it a break.
What do you say to the people? I mean, again, you and I very similar, working 9 to 5, and I would make time to do this. A lot of people say like, oh, I don't have time to say A, exercise, or B, pick up a hobby, C, maybe start photography or filming or starting a business. What is something that you say to them, or how do you handle those conversations? Because I'm someone that is like, no excuses. Like if it's a priority, you will make time. Like we all have 24 hours.
Yep.
You can take the time. How do you have those conversations, especially with people you care about?
Yeah, it's hard. I totally get where you're coming from, man, because it's hard to it's hard to say something like that and not come off like a jerk, or not come off like a Gary V. Like, don't get me wrong, I love the guy, but like, and I freaking hate the most annoying word in the entire human dictionary is grind. I hate that word so much. I will not use it. But it's just like, it's hard to say. You just gotta do it. But I used to say you just gotta make time. But I heard something the other day. Maybe it was on Chase Tuning's podcast. But he said something like, you can't make time. You could only like prioritize and audit time. It was that episode he was doing with I forgot the guy's name was, but he would literally time the amount of time it took him to do daily activities, and he got his shower down to like 5 minutes or whatever. But that's all it really comes down to is like, yeah, I could, I spend the majority of my nights editing. Actually, that's what I spend all my nights doing is editing. But like, I think about it, what would I be doing? Watching TV show, playing video games, things like that. And I just choose to prioritize that because I love it. And, it's not, worth binge watching a show or playing a video game instead of taking the time to do this because I genuinely love it. And I just get lost in it too. Like, like I said the other night, I was thinking to myself, like, damn, I could really just sit here and just binge watch the show for like hours. And it's also hard to like portray that message without making it sound like it's your job, you know?
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna prioritize it, like it makes it sound like, oh, I'm making a sacrifice. It's like not necessarily that. It's just, you have bigger things you want to do, and it's not. I wouldn't even call it a grind. I don't call it a grind because I like legitimately enjoy it. I'm trying to make some moves, and I know that this is going to require a lot of time, which I don't mind doing because, like I said, I love it. But I know it's just like a phase. Eventually there will be, hopefully, like a time where I can do this full time and I won't have to spend 9, 10, 11 hours at work, and I could do this.
Mm-hmm. How do you or let's say actually, what is your goal that you're trying to attain right now? Let's say like in the next year, what is the thing that you're looking most forward to doing, especially with having your career and then doing this? What would be the next move for you?
Man, I've actually not told anybody this at all, not in person, maybe like 2 people. But all right, I'm just gonna say it. So within the year, or within a year, not the year, but a year, I want to hopefully be successful enough to quit my 9 to 5 and be doing this cinematography, photography, be doing it full time, and moved out to Austin, Texas. That's my goals right now.
And why Austin, Texas? What's out there for you?
The people, the environment, man, I love it. And honestly, I know you watch Nick Bear and stuff, and like, you're familiar with some of the channels that are out there already. But
Yeah.
honestly, I wanted to move out to Texas way before like that. Everybody and their mother started to move down there. A couple years ago, I went on a road trip, and Texas is one of the stops we made, and that was just my favorite city. And I always thought it would be cool to move there, and I'm very, very comfortable here. And I was just like, you know what? I just kind of realized, why can't I move out to Texas? Like, if worst comes to worst, I could always move back. Like, it's not like I'm stuck there. That there's a Target over there, there's a Walmart, there's a gas station, there's a gym. It's very easy to make your life somewhere else. And if it doesn't work out, if I get homesick, or if I'm just not feeling it, I could always move back.
No, definitely. And honestly, I've been to Austin, Texas a couple of times. And the environment, the people, the food is amazing.
Oh my God, dude, the food, I would get so fat if I moved there for sure.
Good thing that fitness is a big thing down there. There's a lot of really good gyms, a lot of powerlifting gyms as well. Plus, you can walk around all of like 6th Street and like all around like that part of Texas. It's a lot of walking, and it's a lot of fun. And I actually wanted to touch base on something you just said right before you dived into the move to Texas. You said that within a year you want to move out there, and you said like once you feel successful enough. What is success to you?
I don't know, man. I want to say that make enough from this to just pay my bills. And I would call that, look, it's always going to be a moving target. I know that. I know I'm going to get there. And, once I get enough income to, pay my bills and stuff, it's never going to be a time where I just sit there and say I'm successful. Like, to me, that's not going to be successful. Then the next thing is going to be getting consistent clients and, growing my cinematography thing, whatever you want to call it. So I don't really have a definition for that. I know that once I get there, that's going to be like the first step. It makes me, honestly, I was thinking about it the other day. It just makes me super nauseous and uncomfortable to think about. The more I think about it, because I know the time is coming. Is this something like, I don't know, Robbie Boyd, right?
I do not.
Oh, he was a Nick's videographer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So yeah, we were talking, and I was like, man, I can't wait till I get to do this full time. And he was like, dude, just quit tomorrow and do it. And there's just something about that just makes me so nervous. Like, I do understand that sometimes I know, like, hands down, that I could do so much if I had more time to do it, but I just don't feel like it's right for me to quit and just, because obviously, like, I know that if you need it bad enough, if you need this to survive, you're going to find a way to do it. But I just want to make it like Max Tuning, he didn't just, he took a risk, but, and same with Chase Tuning. It was very calculated, 100%. You know, I want to be at least okay with paying bills and stuff that, you know, I'm just like, okay, I know this is going to be a lot of work in the beginning, but I could still quit this 9 to 5 and I could do this full time. It's going to be rough in the beginning, but I know I could at least get by for a couple months or something, you know?
I think it was either Zach, I'm pretty sure it was Zach Kravitz that said this, but I remember when he was on the fence about, going full time, having about 6 months rent like saved up just in case anything happens, just to make sure that you have something to fall back on is incredibly important. And I personally am kind of in the same boat with you where I know that I could do what I do full time if I wanted to, but it's that risk of knowing, like, what if things don't work out? But then again, you have to remind yourself you're betting on yourself. And personally, I came from a very Spanish household where my family are immigrants. I'm a first generation Guatemalan in my family, so I know the sacrifices that they made, and stability is a huge part of my culture. I'm not sure if your family has come like that, or if you've ever been through something like that where stability has. And I think that's the biggest part about going full time is the lack of stability and creating your own infrastructure.
Yeah, dude, I totally understand where you're coming from because it's the same way with me. Like my family immigrated from Mexico here, so you know they know what it's like. You know, it's like the way they see it. Like I'm already there. You know, I have this 9 to 5 that I can very easily move up in. And what's hard, or how did I say this to my friend the other day? What makes this really hard is that it's easy. And the way I said that was like, this is hard because it's so easy for me just to say, man, I'm good. I'm set. I can just chill at this job and I'll make, you know, couple tens of thousands a year, and I'll have enough to make enough for my family, make enough for a nice car, for a nice house. It is very easy for me just to say, why am I doing this? You know, I could just keep working this and, you know, not end up going that other route because I know 100% it's going to be hard. I know that I'm going to work more than 8 hours a day some days, and I'm completely okay with that. But the end goal is, you know, that I get to do this for a living. And it's, you know, what they say about if you enjoy what you're doing, you never work a day in your life.
Oh, no, totally. And it's, again, starting over, starting new, and the idea of moving to a new place and starting a new business, it's all on you, which is very different. It's very easy. I work at a college and like it's comfortable, it's cozy, they take care of you, but at the same time you feel like there's a bigger calling. How do you or what advice would you give to someone else, maybe who's looking to build a client base? I know you started to talk a little bit
Kind of
about,
justify that.
once you get to Austin, starting a client base. Maybe you already in California. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting?
Honestly, I got super lucky last time, or actually in general, because people just started seeing me with the camera and they would ask me to film stuff. And, you know, people eventually started asking me, like, have you considered doing this, like, you know, as a job or something on the side? You can make money doing it. And I was like, I can make money doing videos. Like, I really didn't think it was something that you can make a sustainable living off of. But yeah, most of the time, I honestly just got lucky. The first one I ever did was for my friend Jacob. I did his American Ninja Warrior entry video, and I was nervous as hell, man. It's just so weird to do a video for somebody else because, you know, you want them to like it. It's your vision, and filming for somebody else is so different than filming for yourself.
Oh,
Like,
100%.
it's the amount of, like, I've never done a wedding, but I've heard that's the most nerve-wracking thing you could ever do in your entire life.
My first wedding, so I ever did was for a friend, and very similarly, like people started asking me if I did videos because I held a video camera, and I would do it in the gym all the time. And I would share my videos, and my friend was like, "Listen, we don't have a lot of money. We could pay you, but it'd be very little. Can you do our wedding?" And I was very much on the fence, like, am I even qualified?
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was like, I don't think I'm qualified to do this.
But you just kind of like, honestly, it's you YouTube how to do it, you find the answers, and then once you're there, you kind of start to get an understanding of what's good and what's not. But weddings are very difficult. Even events that only happen once, like a speech, you only have one shot. And I think that's the reason why things are so difficult.
Yeah, it's not like the the priest or whatever says, I now pronounce you man and wife, and then you miss the kiss, and you're like, hold up, can we do that one more time? I was
Yeah, that
underexposed.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, you get one shot, you get one kiss, you get one like shot of those things, and I can only imagine how stressful that is. I really want to do more stuff like that because it's like you're working out that muscle. You get super nervous and whatever, but eventually you figure it out, and then the more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, so you and I, we met in Zach's course, and I think that Zach kind of talked a lot about all of this, whether it's like the pressure or just like filming in general. Um, what are some things that you've learned from Zach, not just the class, but Zach in general?
So, funny story. When I first heard of Zach, yeah, I heard about him through Brandon Campbell, and I started watching his video on Campbell's channel, and I wasn't a fan, like honestly, because like Brandon Campbell featured Zach Kravitz. I tried, like maybe I watched like 10 seconds of it, and I was just not a fan. And same thing. And then I remember Travis featured him, and I was like, you know what? I'll give it another shot. And I started watching the video, and again, I just could not get into it. And I think what it was I was so like used to the vlog style, that YouTuber style that, I watched Travis, I watched Max Chuni, Christian Guzman, that when I watched Zach, I was like, this is kind of boring, you know?
Yeah.
So, and then, Travis kept talking about him and this and that. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to give this guy another chance. I went to his channel and started watching his vlogs, and I gave it a chance. Just like when you watch a Netflix series, you got to give it more than like 10 minutes or the first episode sometimes.
Yeah.
So I started watching his videos, and eventually I'm like, God damn, dude, this guy, they're like movies.
It's
And then
brilliant.
it's just like there's no fancy transition, there's no music with the EDM drops and the RGB splits and whatever, but it just caught my attention. It's so professional, his colors, everything. There's something about it that I couldn't pin my finger on it, but I was like, man, I want to like, I don't want to, I've never been a huge fan of the Casey Neistat vlogs, to be honest. Like, I like everybody that was influenced by him, but I couldn't watch his vlogs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, like I don't want to say I want to be like Zach Kravitz, but like his style really changed. Once I started watching his videos, you could definitely see my style like change.
Oh, definitely. And I remember similar. I was very much into the vlog side. I followed Max Tuning was the only vlogger that I followed. I never watched Christian or many other YouTubers or Casey Neistat, but Zach was the one that I was like, whoa, like that. I love the colors. It looks like a movie the entire time. I was like, could I do that? And then eventually I started working more and more and more on it. And over the years, it just kind of slowly just became a little bit more polished in the storytelling. And when Zach said that he was starting a course for cinematography, I was like, I'm all in for it. Like, I want to learn from you. And I personally was on the fence about taking it, period, because I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, I'm a good videographer. I bet there's not much that I can learn from Zach. And I feel that I was the farthest from right. Like, I was totally wrong. I felt like I learned so much about it, about, filming. What was it that made you want to take Zach's class? Like, when he announced it, what made you want to take part?
So honestly, when Zach announced he was doing a course too, I was really excited to want to take it as well. But like you, I kind of said the same thing. Like number one, okay, yes, it is kind of expensive, but and I was talking to Zach, and I want to support him and this and that, but at the same time, I wanted to also be able to say I learned how to do this by myself. Like, I thought my videos were pretty decent. Like, I'm not cocky, but I thought they were okay. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, what is this gonna teach me that I haven't already learned or that I can't learn on the internet? Like, all the information is out there. You just YouTube and Google, and eventually you'll find an answer. It's all out there. Why am I going to pay for this? But taking that class was undoubtedly the best thing I could do in general, because what I tell people, because a lot of people actually ask me, a lot of people ask me why I took it and if it really helped, and I say, dude, 100%. Like honestly, what it helped with the most was it just everything just clicked super, super, super easy. Like, and it was all basic things I never paid attention to, like composition, like lighting, and storytelling, and that was main things. Like for me, one of the biggest things was when I learned composition, like proper composition, because every now and then I always struggled with overshooting. I would shoot way more than I needed to, and you know how that is. That just makes it harder in the editing process. You have to go through all the footage, but through
Mm.
Zach, it was just like I understood why everything clicked. Because every now and then, when you shoot everything, like all the time, you come across those clips where like, wow, that was really good, and you don't really know why, but you just know that it looks good. And then once I took that course, I figured out, oh, that's what made this shot good. Was the composition, was the leading light, it was the motion it provoked, it was the lighting. So just it was just those basic things that I was lacking, honestly.
And I think it's something that I speak to like a lot of my friend videographers as well. It's the importance of not moving too much. For that was one thing that like I was blown away with. Like I would always think like if you have a gimbal, you should be moving around. Like a video is moving, you should be moving. And to me, the one that was like you don't have to move all the time. Like some of my best videos that I do have little to no camera movement. You just let the scene take place. Just sit down, frame it, and let it tell the story. Let it evoke emotion. Movement can sometimes take away, and to me, that was the one thing that like just blew my mind.
Yeah, for me too, because I always struggled with that too. Is like I always thought, B-roll camera movement, that's like the number one thing that comes into your mind. But it came to a point, like if I was shooting all day, it came to a point where I would do so much B-roll that like I would do left to right, right to left, up and down and up, diagonal. And then it came to like the point in the day where I didn't even know how to film B-roll anymore. And I would just make the stupidest camera movements ever because I just didn't know how else to move the camera in a different way. But then when he said this thing about you don't have to move the camera all the time, you could just set it up, frame it right. And if what you're shooting is like powerful enough, you don't have to move anything. You just let that do the storytelling. You let that do what it's supposed to do and provoke emotion. Because if you have like a nice scene and the camera, like in Titanic, where the two people are on the drawer or whatever, and the dude is dying, Jack is dying, whatever. Imagine that scene if the camera was like moving left to right.
It would just take away from it completely.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think too. From now on, like every time I see a shot and it just like, wow, that made me feel this kind of way. That was a really powerful shot. And I think of now, I try to imagine that shot if it was panning in and out, or if it was moving left to right, and then I'm thinking to myself like, wow, that would just a tripod. And just because of what was going on in the shot and the proper framing, that really took it to the next level. It's not always like you said about moving the camera, and that's something I really struggled with until I took that course.
Well, what would you say is something that you know now that you wish you knew back then? Like with all these years of experience, what is the one thing, if you could take one thing from everything that you've learned and you can go back in time and be like, young Christian, this is my one piece of advice that I would just highly suggest you listen to. What would that one piece of advice be?
It's very much between composition and camera movement. Very much between those two. I would say probably more camera movement than anything, because it came like sometimes my friends would watch my videos, and like one of them once told me, it's like, oh, like right off the bat, I already knew this was your video because of, like this left to right movement. And then it got me thinking every time I would shoot B-roll, like, damn, what can I do that's not left to right? And if only I would have walked back then and told myself, hey, you don't have to move the camera, that would have made like the biggest difference.
It's funny how we always have to go back to the simpler things. I see everyone, and I don't know if you see this too, like some people could drop money. Like if you have the financial like ability to just drop money on gear, that's awesome. Like buying all this fancy equipment. But sometimes some of the best things, you don't need fancy equipment. Like having drones and gimbals are fantastic, but if you just bring it back and treat, and this is how my mentality is, like treat each shot in a scene as if it was a photo. Like let it play out. Like everything in that shot should be there for a reason. And that's one way to really look at videos that has helped me a lot. That's helped me improve. Um, I'm not sure if you feel the same way.
Oh yeah, 100%. If you could frame it like a picture, then that's all you need. That you don't need to move left to right and pan in and out and do this crazy. I love Peter McKinnon too, but like this crazy whoosh transition and like the speed ramps. Like you don't always have to do that. Sometimes you could just leave it and just let that shot tell the story, and it does wonders.
Oh no, definitely. And it's great to have people to look up to, have sources of inspiration, and just like for creativity. What do you think inspires creativity for you?
For me, I would definitely say that it varies, honestly. Like, and like that's what makes it fun. I can get motivation because I'm not very like extrinsically motivated. I don't like to just rely on that, but it's always just a spark of the moment thing. Like I'll be listening to a song and then I'll get like a vision and then I'll get up my phone and start typing, these shots that I have in mind before I forget. Or I'll be watching a movie and I'm just like, oh wow, this inspired this. Or I'll just, like look at something a certain way, a certain angle, and that inspires me to make something. For me, that's what it is. It could really be anything.
Do you find that creativity is more of an intrinsic thing or something that just comes to you or something from your surroundings? Because I know a lot of people, including myself, where you're in the zone or just you're creating like nonstop, like it just comes to you without even trying. You could sleep and just have a new idea, but there are also times where you just kind of hit a wall and you're just like, I can't create, or like you're unable to have that vision. To you, where does that creativity come from? Do you think it's from within or from around?
Man, I want to say it's from within because I really want to. I know what it means, man. I know what it feels like. I know 100% what it feels like when you just have a block and you're just like, that's it, I'm done. I can never think of anything again. Like I know what it feels like, but the best thing you could do, in my opinion, is just not do it. You just, I don't know. Like the other day, I saw a Peter McKinnon video too, where he was just saying, if you don't have an idea, then don't force it. But then he also said something like, what was it? He said, like, just try, like, just shoot something. And it really depends on the person. Sometimes you just need to shoot something and then you'll get an idea. And sometimes you just need to not do anything. It's very hard to answer, but when you take the breaks, because I've done a lot of the whole thing where I would kind of like, I haven't created in a while and I would just try to force something and it wouldn't ever work out. Like I want to make videos and stuff I want to watch, especially for YouTube and stuff. And I've had multiple instances where I would just try to force it and that video would just get trashed. Like it would never see the internet because you could just tell, man, when you're trying too hard to make something.
I've definitely, and it's funny that you mentioned this, like back in June or even May, I used to do YouTube a lot, and then I kind of took a break, especially this year. And I remember I was trying to do one about my anxiety and talk about where I was and what was going on. And I remember I filmed the B-roll, I had the talking, I had the whole like B-roll like music part of it, and I sat down and I watched it, and I just sent it straight to the trash. I just you sometimes you just need to create for yourself, and it's very easy in this day and age where you create something, you're like, oh, I'm going to share with the internet because I want everyone to see it and I want to feel that sense of validation and just know that I'm doing well. Like it's very easy to kind of get in that loop. Like I just want it out there so people can see that I'm relevant and I'm out there. But sometimes it's good to create, not share, or just create for the sake of creating, just to kind of have that for yourself. But I'm also in agreement with you where, if you're not feeling creative, you can't force creativity. It just kind of builds and comes in waves. It comes in naturally, and you can tell when something's forced out and not pure. It's very easy as a creator to do that.
Yeah, the way I explain it too is like it's uncomfortable for you, and it's uncomfortable for somebody else to watch, because I've like watched multiple YouTubers where I can tell they just forced the video, and it was uncomfortable for me to watch. It felt like they felt so bad, like they had to do me a favor and put this out there, and it was just like, dude, man, I'd rather prefer you not, like, take a break, don't do it, and then come back to it when you feel like it. And if people could tell when you enjoyed making a video, and it really portrays that message. Like I said, you just feel when somebody is being forced to create, if that makes sense. I'm not trying to make it sound super negative, but you can always tell when somebody's like in a corner.
Oh, definitely. If you can see, if you know someone's personality, or you can start to get a vibe, you can tell when something's just like, you just put like a big question mark. It's almost like outside of branding. Like, you can tell when someone's in that branding zone, and then you just see something that's there, and you're just like, they just put something there for the sake of putting it there. How do you evaluate your work or evaluate yourself? I think that's one thing that, as a creator, it's very tricky because we can be our biggest critics. But how do you determine whether a video or something that you create is good, or what you feel is good, something that you're proud of?
So this is actually really easy for me to answer for once. And that is, did I enjoy watching it? If I only want to make, like, I still make YouTube videos very regularly, like once a week. But did I enjoy watching it? Is this something I would watch? If I watch back that video and it's done and I put hours into it and I did not like it, I did not have fun watching it, I am not putting it out there. I'm just going to delete it. Forced content is the worst content. That's something I like to say. It just feel gross, man. I don't know what it is. I've done it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, you got to stay relevant, blah, blah, blah. You hear that all the time. You got to upload frequently, make sure people like know you still exist. But it just feels gross when you just force something together, just threw a bunch of clips together and try to make a story out of it. You put it up there and you watch it, and then you're just like, God, you feel I feel disappointed in myself. I'm like, I'm deleting that, and that is not going up.
How do you determine whether a video is good or not? Not just your own, but let's say someone else's. I think with our community, and we're very lucky that we're in this community where there's a bunch of other videographers around us who are coming up, which is great. But you see some where you're just like, what are you thinking? What makes a good video good and a bad video bad?
Good video, good. Number one, did they enjoy making it? Can I tell that they enjoyed making it? Because we all have different, styles, different ways of thinking, and I get that. And then basic composition, really. Like, if you can like tell that somebody took the time to really compose a shot nicely, I think that makes for an incredible video. That, like, if you have a center frame where the subject is in the center, and that it looks like they measured out from like how perfect that person is in the center, that elevates your video so much more. But if I were to like make it come down to one thing, I really think it would just be, did I enjoy it and did they enjoy it? That is what makes a good video. And is this gonna make somebody feel a certain way? Like, if the video is supposed to make somebody feel sad, or think about a certain sad moment, and it would just like made you feel a different way, then to me that was not a good video.
What's something that you see a lot of new videographers, like, what mistake do you see being commonly made? Like, one thing that you're just like, I see it all the time. If they wanted my 2 cents and I could give it to them, what is something that you commonly see?
Man, I'm gonna sound just like Zach on this one, but I could totally agree. It's the freaking Sam Colder thing, dude. Like, honestly, I'm just like, why are you doing what everybody else is doing? Like, I understand when things change, when there's a movement, you gotta adapt, but you're taking the exact same like template as somebody else and copying and pasting. It's like there's no creativity in that. I would say that's one of the biggest mistakes, is that. And then people saying they want to start a channel or start to make videos, and like, what camera should I get? What gimbal should I get? Oh, I'm thinking about getting this gimbal. I want this camera. I want this lens. I want this and that. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to get expensive equipment to just start. I would actually put that over anything. It just spending too much money on equipment when you haven't even started yet. Like, start with your cell phone. You know, you never know if you're gonna buy all this equipment, it's not gonna work out, and then what?
No, I think that's something that I would 100% agree on. Like in the sense of like equipment. To me, I see a lot of people, especially in the Boston area, like just who are great at money, but they're able to drop this money, and I see their content, and it's like you have one of the best gimbals, you have one of the best cameras, and you're upgrading to one of even the better cameras like that I could never afford. And it's like you have to work on your content, you have to work on yourself, you have to work on handling composition before anything. I personally started off with an iPhone 6. Like my first YouTube videos were taken on an iPhone 6 on a selfie stick on a tripod. I stayed on that for 2 months making videos, and then I bought a Canon T6i, and I was on that for about a year and a half. And then eventually I made my way over to the A7 series, but that was like 2.5 years later. You know,
Yeah, I completely relate with that, man. I started too on a crappy Metro PCS cell phone, and it's for me, it started with one video about me reviewing a training program that I did, and then people are like, "Oh, when are you gonna do vlogs and this and that?" And I'm just like, "I'm trying to see what I do, but all right, I'll try it." And I remember the first ever clip I recorded of myself. I sat in the parking lot of my old job, pulled out my camera, faced it towards me, and I just started recording. And I remember I felt so dumb. And then but like the magic, where I found the magic was after I recorded that whole video and I imported it to Windows Movie Maker, put music in it and cut parts out I didn't want, and then like to create something from nothing. That's when I really just fell in love with it. I was like, damn, I'm surprised this happened. And that's kind of how I caught that whole bug. And then from there, cell phone, I had the Rebel T3i, which is another a huge story that kind of elevated the whole process. But then about a year later, that's when I upgraded to the A6500.
so at what point did you know that this was something that you wanted to do forever, or you saw this
Ooh,
being
yeah.
as like your next big thing?
Man, that's a good question. Well, I can't really pin it down to a moment, but what I love about YouTube is that it documents a lot of stuff and you can go back and rewatch it. And I was telling this to a friend of mine. I was like, you know, one of the things I loved that I recorded was there's this video I made back when I recorded it only on my cell phone, and it was called Disappointed in Myself. And why this video, actually, no, this was recorded on the T3. Anyways, in this video, I'm recording a vlog, and I'm just driving to school. And I remember, man, I had this moment of like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to go to, I wanted to go to school to be a welder because I heard they make great money. That was the only reason I wanted to go. And I was thinking about that. I remember it was a winter day. It was during the fall semester. And man, I remember just feeling that. And I picked up my camera and I literally let out exactly how I felt. I let it all out on camera. And that was the moment for me to look back. I can look back and I get chills because that was the exact moment where it clicked with me. It's not like it clicked with me and then I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to wait till next week's video and I'm going to talk about this. I did it right then and there. That's kind of what, I wouldn't say it led me on the path to make me think I want to do this, but you know, it's slowly and slowly unraveled. Because I kind of like you do YouTube on the side or you make videos on the side and you have another thing. Because I was talking about it with Travis. It feels like you're a superhero. Like you have your 9 to 5, blah, 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 blah. But then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and on the weekends and at nights, you're like videographer. You can switch personalities really easily, you know?
Yeah, that's powerful, man. Like especially in our day and age where everyone's thinking about the future, stability, jobs. It's very easy to get stuck in that culture where you're just looking for something that you can do, but you know when something's for you, when it's your purpose, when it's the only thing you think about, and something that just makes you happy. And I'll talk to my friends when we're at a gig or something, and we're like, wow, it's crazy to think that this was a hobby, and the fact that I do something that I love and get paid.
It's not always about money, but you know, it goes back to that message. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. Like it's crazy. Like somebody comes up to you and like, can you do this? I'll pay you. And I'm like, dude, I would totally do this for free.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I just remember when I first, people say like oh, it's so cool how you make money off making videos, and I'm like, okay, yes, it is. And some people, and I don't want to get this like off the wrong way. Like, don't get me wrong, making videos is a lot of hard work. Taking photos and editing and processing and like revisions, like there's a lot of creative juice that goes into it. And a lot of people are like, oh, all you do is make videos. And it's like, listen, to be where I am, it took me 350 YouTube videos, client videos that I've done for free, and just nights and balancing, and just like it was like 2.5 years of fun, but things that was never recognized to be where I am today. And don't get me wrong, I am so blessed and fortunate for the fact that I do what I love every day. But the fact that there is something that helps me pay my bills, things that help my family, like the fact that I'm able to like do a trip or a vacation, like actually enjoy, the fruits of my labor. It's amazing. Like I never thought in a million years that doing stuff with a camera would get me to my career, which where I am now. Like I thought before I was in admission and going to grad school at night, but I was also making YouTube videos and traveling. And then that ended up into my career change where I do social media and video and photos for college. And then also on my side, I do freelancing. Like it just shows that if you do what you love, it may take a year, it could take 3 or 4 years, but somehow if you put your love and positivity and just like all your heart and soul into something you truly are passionate about, I really do believe, and this can be the most hippy dippy thing, but I do feel that the universe like will somehow reciprocate that, and it just is a matter of timing. Like it will happen. I'm not sure when, but it'll happen when the time's right.
Yeah, and if it's not meant to work out, it won't. Like, and you're gonna be just fine. That's the thing. It's not like, I mean, I would relate it in the way like we all had that one friend. I was not this friend, but we all had this one friend that was like he was super into something for like a year, and he was like all about it. And then within the next year, he's all about this thing, and then within the next year, he's all about this thing. And I never wanted to be that guy, but I just kind of came to the realization that I really love this, and I've been loving this for a couple of years, and I'm going to pursue this. And if like a couple of years I end up not liking it, then that's fine. I'll just, the universe is going to play out how it's supposed to play out. And then it's going to lead me down another path, and I'll just follow it. You just got to like, it's hard to follow what you feel with outside voices, but you really just got to do that exactly. If you do it and it makes you feel good, keep doing it. Like going back to that video, like you like Logic, right?
Oh, I love Logic.
Okay. Well, man, but you're going to love me. So there, that in the Incredible True Story, that speech that he says about how like it pretty much we're just people work for a paycheck, and then we bring up our children to think the same thing, and that whole speech.
It's just regurgitation and no vomit.
Yes, as nasty as that sounds, yes.
It's totally true though. Like I hope that should I ever have a day that I have children, um for them to do what they love, because having that kind of like just pushed down and not being able, it's so sad to think that you can't do something that you love when it's your life. To
I
me,
know, man.
that just sounds so hard.
Yeah, dude, and it's like I was telling somebody the other day, like this could sound really weird. So I worked a lot and went to school, and like I said, I don't like the definition of grind, so nobody please say that word. And that's all I would do, would just like really save money and go to school and work, and never really did anything, never traveled, never spent money on equipment, never. And then I started getting into YouTube. Obviously that requires, once you get, it's like a hobby. Once you get into it, then you buy camera stuff, and it's slowly but surely. And then you travel, and that comes out of pocket, of course. Super personal. And I'm going to say that I was financially better before I started getting into videography, because it's a very expensive hobby. Don't get me wrong, especially with traveling and stuff. It gets really expensive. But I could tell you that I may not be in a financially better spot now, but I could tell you or anybody, like I could die tomorrow and I would be 100% happy with my life. I'm not a big time videographer. I don't have a lot of money, like whatever. I'm not rich, but I could die tomorrow and I would be happy with my life. I could say that I did what I wanted to, and that's really what gets me going, is that I'm doing what I want, and I don't have regrets. Like one of the worst things, I never want to be on my deathbed saying, "Man, I wish I would have done that videography thing. I wish I would have pursued it more." Because one of the things that my mom told me that really gave me chills, because I'm only 24, and when I was 22, she looked at me and she told me, "I wish I would have done more when I was your age." And I just thought to myself, like, man, my mom is not even like 50. She's like mid 40s, maybe. Sorry, mom. But man, dude, I never want to be in that position where I wish I would have said, I wish I would have done more when I was in my 20s, or I wish I would have taken the opportunity. I never want to be in that position.
I think when we start to think about, and this is going to sound very grim for a second, but when we start to think about death, you have to like think about it in a beautiful way, in the sense that you don't want to live a life knowing that death is inevitable, but like doing everything that you can. Everyone has a bucket list of like, I want to do this before I'm 30 and 40, and it's like, well, you aren't guaranteed 30s and 40s. You aren't
Yep.
guaranteed tomorrow. You're not guaranteed this next year. So that bucket list that you have, probably a good idea to start cracking down on it as much as you can, because you know and I kind of like heard this the other day, and I think about more and more, like, happiness is internal, and you can't really change how you view the world until you start working on yourself. And like, you can work towards having more money, or find that right romantic partner, or getting that job, or getting that gig. But if you don't start to change your values, or find what really makes you happy, or what makes you tick, or just finding peace within, you're not going to find happiness or peace with those other things. And once you're happy with yourself, the world could be collapsing, and you'd be okay with it, because you're all right with what you've done. And when I think about life and death, and just money, like you said, like, I'm not the most rich person, and videography and traveling are expensive hobbies, but I'll die knowing that I did what I wanted to do while I could. And that's the most important thing that I think that we have, especially now. And I think it's something that I'm glad that our generation is starting to like experience more and more. It's not about what you attained, it's what you experience, and just making sure that you go to sleep happy.
Yeah, 100%, man. And bring this back to another Logic song that I could totally relate to in Legacy, right?
Yep.
So I had a stepdad that he worked crazy hours, man, and I only saw him. I would actually not see him at night. I would maybe see him for dinner, and then Saturday and Sunday he'd be so tired from the week I wouldn't really see him except maybe on Sundays. But he was making a lot of money. Me and my family were making a lot of money. We had a nice house, nice cars. We did stuff. But man, I never saw him, and I never want to be that dad where I'm working so damn hard and my kids never get to see me, but they have everything they ever wanted. I rather, just like when Logic is rapping that verse about from the kids' perspective, I don't give a damn if we live in a shoebox. I'm just happy with what we've got, and as long as we're together and we're living, that's all that matters. Like, money is it's nice, but I rather like be in a financially stable spot where I'm not super rich, but my family gets to see me and they don't have to worry where their next meal is coming from. Then I'm good. I don't feel like I need to sacrifice my entire life to make this crazy amount of money just to make sure I have a lot of money. That's really dumb.
But
Man,
no,
people that don't like Logic haven't gave Logic a chance. That's what I say.
yes, no, 100%. He is one of the best storytellers. Like, I don't read books, but when his book comes out, the what is it called, marketplace,
Supermarket.
supermarket. Once that comes out, I'm gonna be reading that. That is the only book I will read.
Dude, I hear you, man. I said that the other day too. I said the exact same thing. I was like, I don't read books, but I guarantee you I will buy like 5 copies and I will read one.
Oh, 100%, man. So we're actually, coming down to the end of the interview, and thank you so much for being on it. I have four last questions. Is that okay
Of
with
course.
you?
Of course, man. If hopefully we don't cut out, but yeah, of course.
So, you know, you're down to your last couple days of your life, and you kind of reflect. You're in your 80s, you've done everything. If there's one moment in your life that could have been captured, what would it be, and why is it so important?
God, man, that was a good question. There's one moment in my life. What could it be? Man, actually, there is one moment of my life, and I'm glad it was captured. It was in that video where I realized that I'm tired, or I don't want to work a job for a paycheck to get a lot of money and be financially stable. That moment in that YouTube video, that is that one moment that I'm glad it is on camera and it's caught. Especially where I grew up, it's very common to just find a job that is going to sustain you and a family. You're going to, have a good living. And I don't know, once I had that realization, I was almost kind of embarrassed to say it. But then the great thing about social media, you find a lot of people that feel the same way. And, that's when I started talking to more people about it. And they're like, dude, that's perfectly normal. You don't have to work a job you don't want to work to make a paycheck and pay bills. Like, you just don't have to do that. And it's just like that realization that was a huge growth moment for me. And that's why it meant so much for me, because that just led me on this path now of like, it's okay to take chances. It's okay to not do the normal stuff.
Oh, definitely. And I think once you start to realize what your calling is, you'll do anything for it. My next question is actually, what would be your dream gig? You could do anything for anyone, whether it's video, photo, for anyone, anything, any event. Your call.
Easy. Shooting for Logic.
I knew you were gonna say that. I was looking at my Logic sweater, and I was like, I have a feeling he's gonna say Logic. To work with Logic would be an absolute dream.
Yeah, I have the Young Sinatra 4 album looking at me right now, and that's I just turned around and I was just like, Shooting for Logic. That's it. That's my dream gig.
To work with him would be so amazing.
I know. Not if I could just hang out with the dude and grab dinner, I'd be happy. But like, because he seemed like the type of guy that like you would tag him on Instagram and he'd be like, "Hey, you want to do this video? All right, let's do it. Come out." He seemed like he would be that cool.
Now, what is something that you wish more people knew about you?
Man, dude, that was another good one. Damn, I thought I had this down. Something people wish they knew about me. I would say that I'm very open-minded to anything and everything. With anything, because I used to be a very closed-minded person. Like, I didn't like rap music. I didn't like certain food. And it was just because I just really didn't want to try it. And so I wish people would know that I'm super open-minded about anything and everything. I could talk about anything and everything with anybody that wants to talk about anything, as long as they won't get offended. Debates, not debates, but just conversations about things that I don't really know that much about, because I try to be persuade, honestly, because I want to hear everybody's point. And yeah, I would say that's really it. I just wish people will know that I'm super open-minded to talk about anything.
I think the most important thing that people should try to remember is just to be curious. It's okay to have your opinions and your thoughts, but I think that if you try to believe that you know everything of anyone, you're dismissing the opportunity for growth. And I think it's so important for everyone to just talk about what they think.
Yeah, 100%. I was when my friend Riley was here from Trinity For Change, which I work with now, and it's freaking amazing that I do that, to even say that. But anyways, we were talking about religion, and he was just kind of surprised that I was how like there was no limit to talk about whatever we want to talk about, and how open-minded I was. Like, yeah, I had my opinions, but if you had a certain point and you went super in depth about it, I was like, oh, okay, I never really thought about that. And I honestly just wish more people would like that, or not so hard-headed.
No, absolutely. And now we're getting down to the last question. How do you want to be remembered?
I was thinking about this last night too. I wanted to make how you could post on Instagram, like people, like you could write a question, people can answer it. I didn't want to come off of like arrogant or whatever, but I just honestly wanted to type in there and just say, if I died tomorrow, what would you remember me as? But I ended up not doing it. But to answer your question, I just wanted to be remembered as somebody that was super happy, positive, and really just try to make others feel the best that they possibly could. Peace, love, positivity.
Honestly, that's like, I don't have any tattoos, but if I were to get a tattoo, I think it would be amongst those lines, just about kind of how you see others is how you see yourself. I really do believe that, what you see in others is a reflection of whether your good qualities, whatever you want to describe or determine as bad qualities, your insecurities, your strengths or weaknesses. Like, that's how we see others. And the day that, I depart from this land, I just want to know that I did what I could for those that I loved and just make someone's life just a little bit better. And whatever sense that may
Yeah,
be.
dude. Yeah, man. If I really had to nail it down to one thing, I would say is just that somebody that was positive, and all I want to do, 100%, all I ever want to do is just be a good person, and that's how I want to be remembered. A good person, positive, and try to make others feel as good about themselves as they possibly could at whatever cost.
No, man, absolutely. And before we depart ways, I just want to say thank you for being such a great person, such a positive person. I love talking to you, and you sharing your message, and just you going on your path. And I wish you nothing but success and happiness and everything that you do moving forward, especially with your transition from California to Texas in pursuit of going full time, and whatever happens and whatever comes along your way. You just have a very bright spirit, and I just wish you nothing but the best, Christian.
Man, I honestly can't thank you enough for letting me on this podcast. I was super looking forward to it. I'm sorry we kept cutting in and out. And it's funny because the more I was listening to your podcast, because I didn't know that it was already launched, I'm like, wow, we're very similar, you and I.
It's funny how the world works, right?
Yeah, like, dude, I would be 100% down. Now I have a reason to go to Boston, like shoot with you and hang out and listen to Logic and whatnot.
Well, if you're ever in Boston, you got a place to crash, man. Where can people find you?
YouTube, my name, Christian Carranza. Instagram, Christian.Carranza.754. I probably need to change that to something a little more catchy. But that's about it, man. I really thank you seriously so much for having me on here, man. It really means a lot to me, and hopefully we get to connect more in the future.
I'll have to come to Texas or California. That's for sure.
Let me know, man. Let me know. You got a place to stay.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and thank you everyone for tuning in to Cinemania. We'll be back next week with another episode, and thank you, Christian.